Oh no. I never had the mic on. I never had the mic on. Okay. You know what? I'm not gonna go on that long rant again. I am so sorry. I just now noticed. How much time have we on? 24 minutes. Oh god, I wish it's 25 minutes. Rambling about something that doesn't matter. Okay, well, it does matter. But, okay. Let me just shorten the story. This has to do with. I'll just put this blatantly out there. This has to do with Facility of Redemption on Roblox. You could see the game I'm playing right now. It's Keiju Paradise. I'll put it blatantly short. If you know Keiju Paradise, then you probably know what Facility of Redemption is. And so my point that I want to make is I was emotionally affected by Keiju Paradise because the admins and devs had actually gone corrupt. They didn't want to uphold the peace in their game at some point when I was actually trying to uphold it pretty much all on my own. And this is what we call corrupt devs, where they don't care about the community as much anymore, and so they only care about adding things, features, objects, weapons to the game, right? They only care about the nitty-gritty of the game. And so they hardly focus on the community that much, or the peace of the community, right? They don't mind that. And so, basic standpoint is that whenever things had gotten rough in Facility of Redemption, because I was trying to uphold a peace in the game from time to time, so I could, actually have time to relax, I couldn't do it. I couldn't stand it. At some point, it got to me, right? And believe it or not, I was actually working with an admin at some point, which is this has to do with my emotional trauma that I had reached. And, long story short, I had actually had Roblox take down an account. I had requested them to actually delete the account because of it. And long story short, this admin and me were actually doing good at first to uphold the peace. However, at some point, he just didn't care about my vision anymore. He just didn't care about what I was doing. Didn't really mind the fact that I was trying to be a little bit of a peacekeeper from time to time on the game. And keep in mind, most of the time I didn't even ask for his help. I just, at times when I felt like, of course, it was needed, I reached out to him, right? And said, hey, this person deserves a punishment, of course, right? Because they're just being blatantly disturbing at this point of the game. Now, here's the thing. Whenever it reached that point where he just didn't care about others' happiness or peace anymore in the game, right? It had reached a moment where I felt betrayed, because for a while, I thought I trusted him. I had built a friendship with him to actually be on the good side of him and all that, right? And so, whenever it came to the point where he was just negligent of that, he didn't care about that. He didn't care about my feelings or the peace I was trying to, envelop into the game. The happiness I had in the game was the moments of peace I could make. The moments of peace that I could have in the game. The moments of peace that others let me have in the game. He just didn't care about that at some point, and I had snapped. I felt broken. I had felt stabbed in the back. But long story short, whenever it came to that, I lost all trust in Roblox. All developers, all players. I had lost what made me think, okay, Roblox is, at least a tolerable platform. No, I snapped. I completely lost it. I made someone a friend of mine too quickly, and that was my mistake. I thought they would be better, and they weren't. And that was my upset. That was my fault. I will admit. The one thing is that this leads into, okay, so I do want to talk a bit on this. I'll try to make it as quick as possible. But, okay, if you guys have had cyberbullying classes or, lessons or whatever in school, you know what that is. It's a form of bullying someone. harassing someone online. No matter if it's on a video game, if it's, I know I don't have a door, but please don't listen to me. Okay. So, no matter if it's online, on a video game, if it's on texting, on social media, it doesn't matter. It's considered harassment, which leads into cyberbullying. This is something in which I had started to feel the impact of very heavily at that point. I had felt as if everyone was stabbing me in the back completely, over and over and over again. Even though I had some teammates on my side, I felt as if I couldn't tolerate it anymore. I couldn't take it. The emotional distress was too much. And so I had literally requested that account to be deleted. Hopefully for me to just forget Roblox entirely, to never come back. But then I realized that, okay, there's some games on here in which I would actually like to play. And so I came back. I made another account because I had to. Those games I wanted to play had to be done. At least, if I wanted to play them from time to time, I would. So I had to at least have an account for that. Here's the thing. Whenever it came down to that disappointment, right? Whenever, sometime after I had requested my account deleted, when I made an account again, right? It's like, I knew I would be going back to that game, right? And so, of course, from time to time, I did. Now. But here's the thing. So, whenever I went back to Facility of Redemption and played it for a while, of course, as always, the devs and stuff, as they do, and this is something I also wanted to compare to, unlike Facility of Redemption, and as you would know, for Keiju Paradise, which I'm on currently, Keiju Paradise, their admins and stuff don't actually, involve themselves with the game as much. They don't actually visit the game's community and stuff that much. They don't check up on the game's stableness and stuff that much within servers and stuff. So they don't actually involve themselves all too much, and I would say, in a way, this is a good thing, because then players don't actually have to have the experience in which I had, building a unsure trust within the developers, or, things like that. Like, you think that you could build a relationship and stuff with these devs, or, these moderators, or admins and stuff, but in the long run, it just probably won't turn out well. And so this leads into my point. But I'll get to that in a second. So, yeah, unlike Facility of Redemption, in Keiju Paradise, admins and stuff just don't do that as much. And in a way, as I've said, it's a kind of good thing. Because it saves people from certain things that just shouldn't be in people's life. And honestly, the developers and stuff may see that as, me not liking them and stuff, but it's not that. I mean, obviously, I will put it this way. I have been banned from this game on a previous account. And, well, just watch me get banned again or something again. But anyway, my point is that, in a way, I'm not saying I hate them, it's just I had been banned on this game previously before from an inconvenience. And so, obviously, while that was kind of disappointing, I wasn't all too upset about it, because, of course, I had Facility of Redemption as a backup. I could just play that, Except now I can't. And I will get to that in a moment. But as I've mentioned a lot in this conversation, the admins and devs and stuff in Facility of Redemption aren't as trustworthy. And if you thought it was bad to be harassed and, cyberbullied in the game by possibly anyone, I will get to how this actually leads up to, an even worse side of it. because it doesn't stop there. But my point is that whenever I had came back to Facility of Redemption on this account, at some point I had gotten upset with the admins and stuff. I didn't like the way that they weren't, you know, upholding or, you know, at least, you know, slightly... I just wasn't comfortable. I didn't like them because of the way that they turned on themselves and didn't want to uphold at least a little bit of peace within their game. They didn't care about it at some point. And honestly, that's just how being corrupt goes. It just happens, and some people just accept that. They just turn into it. And this leads me to my point. Whenever I got back into that game with this account, as I said, some of the developers and stuff, or admins, I had snapped. I lost it. I completely just turned on them, and I had said, okay, you know what, if I can't get through to you normally, I will just curse you out and pull out all of this bullshit from everything I've witnessed, everything I have experience in. Everything that you have gave me the time to study, I will just turn it on you. I will just yell it to the skies, to everybody in the server, how bad of developers and admins and stuff you are. I will just curse you out on it. I will completely turn on you and your game, as well as your community, and just tell the truth. Tell how it is. You guys aren't good developers and stuff. And so that's what I did. That's how it was. I lost it. I couldn't handle it anymore. I had reached a breaking point again. Except this time I stood by my word. I didn't request to have my account deleted anymore. I just flipped on them specifically. I had completely gone down a route of being okay and quiet with them being there to I can't tolerate your bullshit anymore. You're lying to all of your community silently. You're betraying them. You're backstabbing them without even telling them. And so I just exposed them within the game. And so since at first, of course, you know, I went about it peacefully, not cursing or losing my mind about it, you know, instantly. Of course, you know, since that didn't get through to them, they just didn't want to believe me. So I had resorted to outrageous standards. I had resorted to just cursing them out. Literally, like, calling them names. I literally resorted to fucking insulting them to the highest degree. I called them motherfuckers. I did whatever possible to insult them or upset them in every possible way I could. And so, to that point, they had actually temporarily, at first, they had temporarily banned me for a few days. And so, at that point, I just hadn't visited their game. I hadn't played their game for a while, right? I just completely avoided it at all costs for a while, until just a while ago, I had saw a friend actually playing it. And so I said, okay, well, since the ban I had should be gone by now, I should just hop on and play with them, right? That's where I was wrong. And my psychology methods in order to actually get them to ban me. See, that's the thing I wanted. I wanted them to ban me at the end. That's what I wanted. I wanted to actually have them. Like, I wanted them to permanently ban me because of how bad of developers, how bad they were to their community, how unaccepting, how unfortunate they were to those around them. And so I just, obviously I just, you know, I said, screw it. I'm just gonna go ahead and try and get myself banned. And so, like I said, at first, they only temporarily banned me. And that's fine. That's what I wanted. Though I didn't want them to temporarily ban me. I wanted them to permaban me. And here's the thing. I as I said, I wanted to be permabanned. I wanted to be permanently removed from the game to never tolerate their bullshit again. I just wanted nothing to do with it. And that's the whole point. I insulted them. I did everything to get to that point. And even in the end, they still temporarily banned me for a while until I took that long break within the time that it took me to actually come back and want to try the game again. Guess what? Even though they thought they had enough of actually insulting me back within the game, and yes, I will put this out there, because of me calling them out and stuff on everything, all of the bullshit, as I've said, they didn't want to deal with it. They just wanted to believe in their own bullshit, right? But here's the thing. When I was actually doing all that, in the game, they were saying that I sounded stupid, that I was wasting my time, that I was even wasting their time, that I sounded completely dumb, stupid, idiotic. But at the same time, a lot of people will say that. A lot of people will just go out their way to, seem like the good person. A lot of people will go out their way to make, say, for example, like I said, people like that have their own community. And so they want to uphold that good image that they have. And so that's what they did. And so, obviously, whenever I called them out, they just insulted me back and everything, right? And that was bound to happen. That's just how it is. You try to uphold that good image you have by calling out the person that's trying to call you out, right? And so, obviously, in a way, I didn't care about that. In the big end, I didn't care about any of that. I didn't mind. Them calling me stupid and all because of their own inconvenience to themselves, I didn't care about that. I didn't care. And so, as I've said, it was to be expected. I was trying to be permanently banned. And yes, they took it lightly at first because they only temporarily banned me for a few days. But as I've said, that wasn't the goal. And when I took that long break, guess what? That goal in which I wanted to happen, let me put up a window recorder as well. Window capture. Yep. I don't know what it is about this window capture, but it's not wanting to work. Discard, yeah. So let me delete this. Yep. And let me do application audio capture? No. Audio display capture, here we go. Display 2. And here we go. The ultimate result. This right here is what I wanted to happen. Yes, in a way it is disappointing because I will never be able to play the game again. However, ultimately, as I've said, this is what I wanted to happen to begin with. Because, as I've said, I had reached a point where I wanted nothing to do with them. I knew for a fact that for a long time, they would always come back to their game to always check on it periodically. I knew it was going to be a thing. And so, in the long run, as I've said, I wanted this to happen. I actually called them out for this to happen. I actually insulted them in many ways, many different ways. I completely absurdly just obliterated them with every curse word, insult, even calling them names to get this to happen. And obviously, as I've said, it didn't happen at first. However, because I took that long break, they had thought about it. And this comes back into psychology. How you know people will react when you know the people you're engaging with. This is what I wanted to happen, and I knew how to take that route. I knew how to get it to happen, and I knew that it would happen because I knew how they are. I took the time to study what they're like. I took the time to understand their methods. I am the one who came out superior in this because I wanted it to happen. That sounds stupid, but at the same time, you have to think, they caused me so much emotional distress. And yes, meanwhile, it was my own trust, my own overtrust in someone that had led to it, yeah. But at the same time, I didn't deserve to have that emotional distress put on me because I wanted some peace in the game. I didn't deserve that kind of harassment to begin with. I didn't deserve them to treat me like that when I was being so nice to them at first. I didn't deserve that. I might have talked to them a lot and stuff and maybe a little bit annoying, right? But at the same time, you have to think, because they caused that to me, I got out of it wanting the outcome in which was best. I got out of it actually getting the outcome in which was actually the best result possible. Getting banned from the game entirely. And not only that, but you remember, here's the thing. I will explain this again. Do you remember how I said they actually harassed me whenever I was, harassing them? Whenever I was actually intentionally cursing them out, insulting them, and also calling them names repeatedly, calling them on their bullshit. Well, as I've said, that was intentional. And obviously, as I've said, they had retaliated, calling me bullshit, making fun of me, saying that, oh, I'm stupid, I sound idiotic, I sound dumb. And guess what is in this ban report? Guess what their reasoning was on banning me permanently. Now, as I've said, I will admit, yes, I did ask for it. They mentioned that in the start. I asked for it. You asked for it, right? That's fine, because I did. I will admit that. Yes, I did. But keep in mind, that was intentional. That was on purpose, for good reason. So actually, this benefits me more than it does them, because now I have the proof of this happening, that they are actually harassful. They actually would rather harass you than actually be nice, no matter how kind you were to them before. And no matter how much you might have insulted them or something beforehand, they actually deal with it immaturely. That's the point I wanted to reach. They were not just immature on their responses and stuff while I was doing it in the game. They're now being immature when banning people. Within the reasoning, they are being immature, insulting people in their reason when banning someone. Still, within the ban reports. That right there is what I wanted to happen. Because that right there would be my evidence that they are not a good admin and dev team and all. They're not good people. And this shows it right here. Let me read this to you in full so you can hear it from my voice. You asked for it. Parentheses. I honestly feel sorry, and here's where it gets bad. And not sorry on how dumb and stupid you sounded. See you around. Parentheses end. And that right there, in the middle. Now, I'm okay with this, I felt sorry. That's okay, because, yeah, that's a bit of kindness. This right here, in the middle, is what gets me. Because that's what I wanted. And they don't know that. I wanted evidence to put them in the ground with. I wanted evidence of them being harassful. I wanted evidence of them actually harassing me, even after the fact. I wanted evidence of them going out of their way at some point to harass me further than necessary, even after they had dealt with the issue. They didn't have to put this middle part of being harassful. They didn't have to do that. But they did. And I know this is from one person, right? And probably the one that, had the most hatred towards me, right? And that's something as humans that we can't get rid of. It's our feelings, of course. We're going to express it in some way. But however, in the time that they took to actually ban me permanently, They could have, you know, obviously not put this part. This part here in the middle, that's harassful and, you know, verbally harassful. Like, that's technically what that is. Verbally harassment. Verbal harassment. And so, this part in the middle, they did not actually have to put that there. They know that because they took the time to do this. They took their time. Because as I've said, they only temporarily banned me at first. And so, they had the time to think about this permanently ban, you know, reason message. They had the time to do that. But somebody had so much hate towards me when doing this action that they still wanted to actually verbally harass me. Even after the fact, after that much time had passed. They know that they could have let go a little and just been slightly more, you know, kind towards it. They could have been, you know, you asked for it, so you asked for it, okay? So we did it. Here you go. You're welcome. See you around. Have a great time. And so, you know, obviously something like that would have been a lot more appreciative. It's still, think of it like this. Passive aggressiveness. Where you don't actually show the person that you're being aggressive towards them, but in a secretive sense, you are. And so they could have said this very nicely, and I would have accepted that. But at the same time, me as a person, I would have known that they were being passive aggressive. I knew that they probably wanted to say something a lot more aggressive. Like, straight up. And I knew for a fact that if they did this, I knew that they were going, because as I said earlier, I studied them. I know how they would have reacted. I know what their plan was. I knew they were going to do this at some point because I asked and because I led up to that point. Here's the thing. So, and actually, let me pull up my files because I will give you evidence that this actually is within the game. I actually did get this report, right? So this is that, right? And I'll pull up the game later too to even prove it further, right? But this here is the screenshots I took for this. And so here's the thing. As I've said, yeah, I did ask for this. But in the long run, I benefit from it more than they do. Because now this is my proof that people should not trust the developers or admins of Facility of Redemption. No matter how much they want to, no matter how friendly they might seem below the surface. This right here. This right here. This is how they are. Even after past tense. Even after the time they took to do this. Even after the time they could have taken to just, you know, make a peaceful ban report. A peaceful ban reason. You know, they could have been more peaceful about the reasoning, right? The time they took to actually commit this ban permanently and also put the reason there for it. The time they took to do that, they knew that they could have just held it in themselves to just refrain from being this extra bit of harassful. They know that they didn't have to do that. My point to this video is that if some of you play Facility of Redemption, look at my video as proof that no matter how much you play that game, beneath the surface, it's made by people who don't give a fuck about you, no matter how much you give a fuck about them. And deep down, that's who they are and how it is. But I suppose, at the end of the day, even with all this proof, right, I will even, hang on, I'm going to switch games real quick. I will gladly switch games for a moment. Like I said, this is a little disappointing. At the same time, as I said, I wanted this to happen. I wanted to be pushed away from their toxic community. I couldn't handle it at a certain point, so I gave up. And so I gave in. I just did everything I could to get permanently banned. And at the same time, it is a fun game to play. I have some sort of attachment to the game. It's just the fact that I couldn't handle the people, like a good bit of the people in the game that made the game an undelightful experience to actually be, you know, held witness to. And so, at some point, because of that, and because nobody was, you know, because more people just didn't want to stand up to it and stuff, I felt the pressure mainly on me. And so, obviously, at some point I had given in, as I've said, and I wanted this to happen. So at some part of me, I do find it disappointing because I did like the core element of the game. I did actually like the gameplay. I liked its premise, and I liked the game as the game it was trying to represent. But the people, the community that had made it a game that just isn't as nice for everyone to play, I couldn't handle it. And because the admins and devs and all of that just didn't want to handle it themselves, because they didn't want to take a better approach to it, at least by a little bit, or at the very least, you know, kicking the people who were disturbing the peace a little too much, obviously at that point, I saw no purpose in the game anymore. I saw that the game was more unacceptable than actually, you know, fun to play. Because what's the fun in playing a game if you can't play it because people just keep disturbing your playtime of the game? Like, if people keep interrupting your play, if they won't let you even play the game, then what's the point of playing it? It's a lot like GTA 5 online. And I did discuss this earlier. Even though the core element of the game is all good and stuff, it comes down to the people who grief and they press their Mark IIs and stuff. They would just repeatedly on end, some of them would just repeatedly over and over and over kill you over and over, non-stop for a very long time. And this comes back to the fact of, what's the point of playing a game if people won't let you play the game? See, now that is something I wish people thought more. I wish people would take that into perspective more. But they don't. And that's why video games are starting to become intolerable. They're not able to be played the way it was envisioned. And this has nothing to do... I'll actually give you some context. This has nothing to do with games like Fortnite or Call of Duty and stuff, where the actual premise of the game is to actually kill or be killed, right? It's like you were forced to actually stand up for your own, right? Because, like, there's no peace in the game regardless. Like, that's just the premise of the game. But here in games like this, Facility of Redemption, or maybe say, like, Keiju Paradise, like, other fighting games where you actually deep down have that choice to be peaceful, that's where it becomes heavily intolerable. Here's the thing, I don't know what's appearing right now. Oh, so that does appear as well. So, now that you've seen that, right, that's the screenshot. Here's the actual proof. Right here. This here is the actual proof. And so, now you have all three pieces of proof that you need. I had joined the game expecting to actually maybe have a good time for a little bit. Though, at the same time, as I've said earlier, I did expect this. I had expected this. But at the same time, I thought maybe, you know, that temporary ban was lifted and so I could maybe play the game again, right? And so here's the thing. This is now the actual proof. And this shows that I did eventually go back in the game earlier, not long ago, noticing that this was a thing, right? And so I screenshotted it, which then leads to the files. And these are the files. I had taken a few extra screenshots just in case they didn't actually, you know, capture, right? And so after the screenshots, after seeing this, they had went to my files, and then I pulled one of them up into, you guessed it, the photo app, right? Picture app. And so, pulling it into the picture app, I zoomed in, right? Just to make sure you guys could read it, of course. But here's the thing. Now that you know the story of how this happened, I'm hoping that most of you that possibly do play Facility of Redemption, please take discretion. Please take warning before you play Facility of Redemption, because you may enjoy it for a while, maybe a long time, like I did. However, when it comes down to it, there's one key point in which nobody, now that this is proven fact, that nobody should forget when playing a game made by someone. It could be anyone, but this is just a good example of it. When you play a game, and especially if you play Facility of Redemption, keep in mind, not everyone's on your side, and that's going to be obvious, of course, to a lot of people. However, because of this, you can also wind up getting permanently banned for something that you tried to expose the actual bad people for. So if you try to stick up for yourself, and even towards, like, maybe the admins or whoever, and, people in power, if they had gotten corrupt the way that I had explained, and if you try to stand up against that, well, just take a note that it could happen in any game, right? But just take warning, take discretion when I say expect to probably be permanently banned after that experience. Because, as you saw from me, I stood up, and fairly aggressively at the end too, as I've said, to just get my point across to them. And so, after that, I just want to make a warning, a discretion to anyone. Take heed in what you do in games, because you never know when it might be your last moment in that game, forever. And I think that's the moral of today's video. And I think we could happily end off on that. But, yeah. In that regard, I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.